Letter 206 by Charles Lamb. 13 August 1814. Dear Resuscitate, there comes to you by the vehicle from Lad Lane this day a volume of German. What it is I cannot justly say, the characters of those northern nations having been always singularly harsh and unpleasant to me. It is a contribution of Dr. Southey towards your wants, and you would have had it sooner but for an odd accident. I wrote for it 3 days ago, and the doctor, as he thought, sent it me. A book of like exterior he did send, but being disclosed, how far unlike. It was The Well-Bred Scholar, a book with which it seems the doctor laudably fills up those hours which he can steal from his medical avocations. Chesterfield, Blair, Beattie, portions from the Life of Savage, make up a prettyish system of morality, and the Bell's Letters, which Mr. Milne, a schoolmaster, has properly brought together, and calls the collection by the denomination above mentioned. The doctor had no sooner discovered his error than he dispatched man and horse to rectify the mistake, and with a pretty kind of ingenuous modesty in his note seemeth to deny any knowledge of the well-bred scholar. False modesty surely, and a blush misplaced. For what? More pleasing than the consideration of professional austerity thus relaxing, thus improving. But so, when a child I remember blushing, being caught on my knees to my Maker, or doing otherwise some pious and praiseworthy action. Now I rather love such things to be seen. Henry Crabb Robinson is out upon his circuit, and his books are inaccessible without his leave and key. He is attending the Midland Circuit, a short term, but to him, as to many young lawyers, a long vacation sufficiently dreary. I thought I could do no better than transmit to him, not extracts, but your very letter itself, than which I think I never read anything more moving, more pathetic, or more conducive to the purpose of persuasion. The crab is a sour crab if it does not sweeten him. I think it would draw another 3rd volume of Dodsley out of me, but you say you don't want any English books. Perhaps, after all, that's as well. One's romantic credulity is forever misleading one into misplaced acts of foolery. Crab might have answered by this time. His juices take a long time supplying, but they'll run at last. I know they will, pure golden pippin. His address is at T. Robinson's, Bury, and if on circuit, to be forwarded immediately, such my peremptory superscription. A fearful rumor has since reached me that the crab is on the eve of setting out for France. If he is in England, your letter will reach him, and I flatter myself a touch of the persuasive of my own, which accompanies it, will not be thrown away. If it be, he is a slow and no true-hearted crab, and there's an end. For that life of the German conjurer, which you speak of, Colrus de vita doctoris vix intelligibilis, I perfectly remember the last evening we spent with Mrs. Morgan and Miss Brent in London Street. By that token we had raw rabbits for supper, and Miss Brent prevailed upon me to take a glass of brandy and water after supper, which is not my habit. I perfectly remember reading portions of that life in their parlor, and I think it must be among their packages. It was the very last evening we were at that house. What is gone of that frank-hearted circle, Morgan and his coslettices? He ate walnuts better than any man I ever knew. Friendships in these parts stagnate. One piece of news I know will give you pleasure. Rickman is made a clerk to the House of Commons, £2,000 a year with greater expectatus. But that is not the news. But it is that poor card-playing Phillips that has felt himself for so many years the outcast of fortune, which feeling pervaded his very intellect, till it made the destiny it feared, withering his hopes in the great and little games of life, by favor of the single star that ever shone upon him since his birth, has strangely stepped into Rickman's secretaryship, sword, bag, house, and all, from a hopeless £100 a year eaten up beforehand with desperate debts, to a clear £400 or £500. It almost reconciles me to the belief of a moral government of the world. The man stares and gapes, and seems to be always wondering at what has befallen him. He tries to be eager at cribbage, but alas, the source of that interest is dried up forever. He no longer plays for his next day's meal, or to determine whether he shall have a half dinner or a whole dinner, whether he shall buy a pair of black silk stockings, or wax his old ones a week or two longer. The poor man's relish of a trump, the 4 honors, is gone, and I do not know whether if we could get at the bottom of things, whether poor star-doomed Phillips with his hair staring with despair was not a happier being than the sleek, well-combed, oily-pated secretary that has succeeded. The gift is, however, clogged with one stipulation, that the secretary is to remain a single man. Here I smell Rickman. Thus are gone at once all Philip's matrimonial dreams. Those verses which he wrote himself, and those which a superior pen, with modesty let me speak, as I name no names, indited for him to Alyssa, Amelia, and C. For Philip's was a wife hunting, probably from the circumstance of his having formed an extreme rash connection in early life, which paved the way to all his after misfortunes. But there is an obstinacy in human nature, which such accidents only serve to whet on to try again. Pleasure thus at two entrances quite shut out, I hardly know how to determine of Philips's result of happiness. He appears satisfied, but never those bursts of gaiety, those momentrals from the cave of despondency, that used to make his face shine and show the lines which care had marked in it. I would bet an even wager he marries secretly, the speaker finds it out, and he is reverted to his old liberty and £100 a year. These are but speculations. I can think of no other news. I am going to eat turbot, turtle, venison, marrow pudding, cold punch, claret, Madeira, at our annual feast at 4:30 this day. Mary has ordered the bolt to my bedroom door inside to be taken off, and a practicable latch to be put on, that I may not bar myself in and be suffocated by my neckcloth. So we have taken all precautions. 3 watchmen are engaged to carry the body upstairs. Pray for me. They keep bothering me. I'm at office, and my ideas are confused. Let me know if I can be of any service as to books. God forbid the architectonicon should be sacrificed to a foolish scruple of some book proprietor, as if books did not belong with the highest propriety to those that understand 'em best. Since Lamb's last letter to him, October 30, 1809, Coleridge had done very little. The friend had been given up. He had made his London home with the Morgans, had delivered the pictures on Shakespeare and contributed to the Courier. Remorse had been produced with Lamb's prologue, January 23, 1813. The quarrel with Wordsworth had been to some extent healed. He had sold his German books, and the opium habit was growing on him. He was now at Bristol, living with Joseph Wade, and meditating a great work on Christianity, which Cottle was to print, and which ultimately became the Biographia Literaria. The term resuscitate may refer to one of Coleridge's frequent threats of dying. Dr. Henry Herbert Southey, 1783–1865, was brother of the poet. He had just settled in London. Milne was William Milnes, author of The Well-Bred Scholar, 1794. Crabbe Robinson does not mention Coleridge's letter, nor make any reference to it in his diary. He went to France in August after circuit. It was at this time, August 23, that Coleridge wrote to John Murray concerning a translation of Goethe's Faust, which Murray contemplated. See letters, E. H. Coleridge, page 624. The suggestion that Coleridge should translate Faust for Murray came via Crabbe Robinson via Lamb. The life of the German conjurer. There were several Coleridges. John Coleridge of Amsterdam wrote a life of Spinoza. Lamb may have meant this. John Coleridge of Berlin invented a perpetual calendar, and John Jacob Coleridge examined Platonic doctrine. There are still others. The Morgans had moved to Ashley, near Berks. Miss Brent was Mrs. Morgan's sister. Our annual feast, the annual dinner of the India House clerks. The architectonicon, Lamb refers possibly to some great projected work of Coleridge's. The term is applied to metaphysicians. Possibly Goethe is referred to.